I start, it is my first presentation in English, so I'm a little, no little, I'm much nervous. Anyway, I'll start. 6 months after coaching, I met the team Scrum Master. The Scrum Master says some good news. The first one is the team is continue to practice Scrum after leaving external coach. Second is the Scrum team won the Chairman's Award at the end of the year. The last one is there will be more Scrum team in the future in their organizations. So I was great to hear this news. On the other hand, very surprised, because I assume it is very difficult for such a traditional company to keep Scrum practice for a long time. There is just a single teams. Of course, there have been several unsuccessful coaching experience that are difficult to mention. What did they do differently that made this team successful? I've been thinking about this. I wanted to pay particularly attention to one special moment. That is the seed of the success. This presentation for the Agile coach, I will be dealing with these things. The first one is the short introduce of the Shuhari. I'm sure most of you know about Shuhari, but for those of you who don't know it, I will briefly explain it. And then I will tell you how Shuhari actually applied. Taking a different view of the Shuhari is the key of this presentation, especially Lee. And show some technique to observe the map of heat and the mental simulations. And mental simulation as a game. I want to know how these Agile coaches here behave differently in the same situations. There was some important moment in this case. There could be many options. I'd like to share our exit. I wish I had a chance to think, not just to listen. And put Lee stage forward is my key. Okay, before the start, we have to define the traditional organizations. We have a lot of the different cultural context. So I want to gather some insight from your cultural context. What are the characters of the traditional organization in your cultural context? You can just pick up the code or just type the bit.ly Google Scrum.
I need a hand. What's the code?
Sorry. I will show again. bit.ly/Google Scrum.
I see. Okay.
Okay. Does somebody write this code to the chat room?
Thanks, Ali. The link's in the chat.
Can you see the result?
Yes.
Big organizations, change is hard. Waterfall, silo, upfront, right, components, control, no focus on visions. Right, waste, silo, waterfall, hierarchical. Good, good. Yes. Okay, it's cool. Thank you for sharing. I will go next. Can you? I will share my screen again. Okay.
Yep.
Yes. Context of these presentations, I define the traditional organization as some characteristics. The first is simple. It's a company that has not yet adopted Agile. It's kind of the waterfall. And second one is very large company. The number of employee of the company that I coached the pilot project was 23,000 people in one organization. And third one is conflict of the interest. Many departments and many evaluation criteria make the conflict across the divisions. Fourth one is high context society. You must grasp the hidden intention and meaning in all communications in the organizations. Next, it is important to improve performance, but it is more important not to fail. The last one is the high success rate, almost 980%. They already know all of their project will be succeed. It means that even if you fail, you have to look like a success. It's the simply non-transparent company. So the title is coaching the pilot team at the traditional organizations. The real meaning is how can we introduce Agile in a place where failure is unacceptable? Before the jump to the case, I will explain the Suhari should explain due to these concepts. In Management 3.0, this is how they describe the Suhari. It's like a stage of the growth. The Shu is the novice, Har is the journeyman, Li is master. Let me explain the Shu. Shu is the simple word, the following the rule. At this starting stage, students follow the teaching of the one master exactly. They don't worry too much about the underlying theory and focus on how to do things. If there are many changes in how to do the job, they just focus on the way their master teaching them. It is the Shu stage. The second stage is Ha, it's break the rule. At this time, students begin to break the rules with basic practice in operations. They now begin to learn the basic principle and theories of the techniques. They also begin to learn from other master and his own experience. Last stage is Lee. There are no students at this stage. They create their own approach and adapt what they have learned to their own specific environment and establish their ways. When I first encountered Agile in 2007, there were not many books about Agile in Korea. At that time, I tried to implementation the Scrum theory itself from the book, and I suffered a lot of the resistance. There were some things that didn't really work out. Gaining more experience, I just recognized the value of the shuhari. I learned what happened when I changed the Scrum's rule and what risks there are. Only then did I know the meaning of the shuhari. Back to the coaching case. It is the kind of the mental simulations. Please think about it. What would you do in this situation? I want to know your text it. Let you think about it. What would your contract is as an external coach? The coaching term is 3 months. You can go there 1 time per week, and you can participate in sprint review, retro, and planning, and you can conduct Scrum one-on-one workshops. It is the basic constraint. Context of scenario is the first day of the coaching. I was invited to the meeting. It also the first gathering day of the Scrum pilot team. During signing the coaching contract, I impressed that I'm the point. The cross-functional team is very important. So I attend the meeting with the expectation that I would meet a team of less than 9 people and greeting each others. Because it was my birthday, I'm very happy and good conditions. Please imagine you've got the good conditions, right? And happy. Yeah, here is the problem. The first day of the pilot project, 30 people sitting in the meeting room for 10 people is very small and tight space. No pre-meeting and no information about this meeting, and no space to visualize. And at that maybe 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., the product owner looked at the coach and said, "Can you start now? Or would you please proceed?" In these situations, what would you do? Here is some the options you can choose. Yes, okay. Another the Mentimeter I will share. You can choose your own answers, please.
Can you refresh because it's
Okay.
mine's saying the next question isn't coming up. Ah, thank you.
A lot of good coach in here. They use coaching skills, right? Here is some the good manners. They choose the facilitate. They accept the offer, right?
I'm very curious about the people who actively do nothing.
Me too.
Is the interpretation that that they're observing?
Okay. It's interesting. The interesting result I saw. At that time, my answer is the almost the actively do nothing. I turned down this offer and asked them show me how to work together. Rejecting the offer create kind of the tension, but I think this rejection played a huge role in their success. If I just following Shuhari, I will have to lead this meeting and I will have to teach people, show them and to make them follow because I'm the one who know the Agile they don't know. But as you know, the Scrum's asset are self-organizing teams. The pilot team was able to maintain, improve, and develop its own Scrum after a short coaching period of 3 months because the team had the power to improve itself. What if I lead the meeting at this time? In the Suhari model, people would have stayed in Su. The team would have tried to learn more, and they would have become more passive. When coaching in traditional organization, I was asked these questions. How to learn a business meeting in Scrum? She was a team member with a student attitude and learning attitude is a good manners. After this question, I ask a few questions back. How do you usually hold meetings? What should I do differently? People become limitless passive the moment they perceive themselves as a student. Things that are already doing well become stiff and thought become rigid. Work as if they learn switch is on. Everyone must realize that they can do everything on their own and they have the one who can look back and improve themselves. And it is important to speed up the experience. This connected with Shuhari's weakness. Shuhari's ultimate purpose is to make a lead. But once you get used to the Shu stage, people lose all their strengths. So how to get lead stage to experience it quickly is very important. In the first meeting, how to respond to the first request is the basis of the relationships. The foundation of these relationships become a mental model for external Agile coach. So I recognize the first impression as a critical moment. At that moment, I can facilitate ice breaking for know each other's, or I can make a space for sprint zero, but I decide not to do. What should I do if I'm not someone I should teach, but someone I should learn? I had to learn about them. I had to learn about them. Organizational culture, including people and team. I had to learn what help they need, what to follow, what to twist. As a coach, you can help if you don't know the style of the client. This is because we need to help our customer reveal their style. After turn down the offer, the selected actively do nothing, I start observations. This is the picture of the conversation I sketched that day. Every time people look at each other, I drew a line one by one. I just introduced this map of heat. It is a simple technique of the observations. You draw line if the member eye contact or gaze each other's. The exclamation mark is the positive response, and question mark is the exchange of question. There is no note, but if there are some laughter or pleasure, I wrote down the note. None of them appear in this scene. You look at this map of the heat, you can find some patterns. The red group has eye on the desk, right? They have little interaction with each other. The people in the front have a lot of conversation, right? You can look at some of the thick lines. Where is the center of this room? Is this strong center of this meeting room is here. This is a screen. The product owner led the context of this pilot and the request list. So a lot of the people just seeing the screen, not care about each other's. This is laptops. They don't seem interested in the topic of the meetings. About an hour later, when the context changed, I show this interaction picture to people and ask what they found. And I could hear why the meeting went like this. These are Scrum teams. The person behind was a lot of connection, but not a team member. Guess who? Yes, he is manager. The manager, the one who evaluates the project and was externally responsible. Some are not part of the pilot team, but just came to observe. These were just the people who were ordered by the person in charge. There was a reason why the team's conversation went loud and they couldn't talk about the real problem. I also found out why they were no joke or laugh. It was very difficult for the team to actually cooperate in the presence of the people from other departments with the complex interests. This is the scene of the first meeting. Organization that introduce first-time Agile must be very interested because Agile coaching is a high-cost service and strange things to the traditional organizations. Many people are sent to the scene to see and want to get more impact. The company assumed that with more observe, it could learn more. I met the observer. I asked to their understanding. There is currently nothing observer about the Scrum and Agile, so can I invite you back? They listened to the excuse. They left immediately. They seemed very pleased. This was the first actions to the teams. At this point, the initiative was handed over to the coach. The moment coach interrupts, they look at the coach. After the break, the team member will now see what and how the coach lead. So from this point, my concern was to give the team the lead again. It was my goal to help reveal the team's color. And after break sessions, the team member gathered again. And then suddenly the team's designer said, I have another meeting in 15 minutes. It shocked me. It is very short. It is very short time. I try to new things. As you know, Scrum is called the frameworks, presenting the skeleton, but completing the skeleton in different ways by each teams, each culture, each company. The frame is operated in its own way. Scrum complete is in Lee. So my goal is put Lee stage forward. My choice is we just have 15 minutes. At that time, my choice is to give a small frame and let the team dominate the frame. Rule the little frame is the same the Lee stage. This was an important attempt to reduce passivity and to become the master of the frame himself. This is the personal task board. The fastest shape of this board finished in 50 minutes. They are as a team assigned, but they still don't know each other's. So sit down and decide to write all they need to do in this week in 5 minutes. I gave them a very simple frame. First one is get together every day and share what to do on that day with each others. Second one, and look at each other for help and give and take help. Last one is very important. Let's keep this, but think about what we are going to do to make it natural in our own way. This is a real framework, make them grow their own way. It is the personal Kanban board in the first day. It is the first sprint one board created by the team. Is a little simple. Second one, they create another shape of their board. It is the evaluate, and this is the sideboard, the sharing their own schedule within teams. This is amazing. This is a kind of the backlog by visualizing the logic of the test. This is the retrospective feature action items. This is the check-in activity as a temperature readings. Each clip load on their own names. They check in the moving the clips. This is the example of the Scrum meetings every day. They must have been so much going on after the contract period was over and the coach left. Their success is not because they followed what the coach thought them were. This is because the team complete their own Scrum in line with the company's context and with the organization focus. You should be wary of trying to teach more. When it turns out that you have to teach and learn something, you have to be wary of the passivity. When you coach the Agile team in traditional organizations, you must awaken the power of self-improvement within people. It's very difficult, especially the traditional organizations, because failure is unacceptable. The takeaway is it is important to make the first relationships with the teams as an external coach. This relationship is a kind of the mental model, how to communicate with the external Agile coach. And as a coach, you should have the team reveal each unique color, their style. And so don't stay them the Sue stage. It should help to get to the Lee stage quickly and give them a little frame, make them rule. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
For your first English presentation, I am impressed beyond belief.
That is my first presentations. Thank you.
That's amazing stuff.
Any questions? Oh, we need a little minute, right?
There was one question I noticed in the chat from Donna Lee, which asked if you're working remotely, it might be a bit more challenging to draw some of those lines.
So sorry, I can get the. Can you
Oh,
can you?
so if you're working remotely, it might be a bit more challenging because you're not in the environment to see that conversation and that flow of direction. So
Yes.
for a remote, then what would you recommend?
In these days, I faced same challenge to me. There is no right answer yet to me, but sometimes I just give uh, some the coaching question to them. They don't have any knowledge of the Scrum, but they naturally to find their own answer through the Scrum framework sometimes.
Yep.
So in the remotely, I want to reveal their own strengths. I will meet the one-on-one session a lot of times, and then make expectations on each stage. This kind of the coaching conversations can escalate their own institute and their own strengths. So I don't have the right answer yet.
I think what you've done though, Pio, is inspired a number of people to want to try and find a solution for that type of process over Zoom.
Okay.
Next question.
Another question.
So Pio, fantastic presentation, man. Yeah, props to you. How did you respond to the pressure to show fast progress early and an outcome quickly in an environment where failure is unacceptable?
Before the coaching contract, I will make sure we will fail a lot of times. In the high level, maybe the C-level, the people can understand what I said. So the C-level people make a expectation to fail. It is a space to make learn some experience. If the C-level people make a promise to make me promise to the success, it is bad smell. Because if product owner or team make a pressure to success something, they return all the way because their experience approved all the way is best to them. So they pretend inspect and adopt but the critical moment, they turn back to the old way of their working. So that kind of the pressure is a bad smell. If you get that kind of pressure from the company, I would recommend you do not sign. But if you need some money, so if you have to sign that situations, at that time, I will tell a lot of the forecast, what kind of a phenomenon will be occur. This kind of pressure occur, this phenomenon in the after 1 month, after 2 months, you can see this kind of scene, this kind of phenomenon of the team will be act as this kind of things. At that time, the manager confirm my forecast and they believe my forecast. So we can adjust the expectations. That kind of pressure, if you met, we will have a lot of retrospective what happened in team with the manager. The manager see the leader, not the image in it, right? Thank you.